Hey folks, and welcome to Tyrdom. So today I want to talk about something that I find pretty exciting, to be honest. And you can read about it in this particular book, among others, the Edda. And this happens to be the combined work of the Poetic Edda and the Prose Edda. And I want to talk to you about Yggdrasil. Some of you may have heard about Yggdrasil, and I will place a picture of Yggdrasil here somewhere. But what Yggdrasil is, for you who don't know, it's oftentimes described as the life tree in Norse mythology. And the thing is with the life tree or Yggdrasil is it's a life tree that connects the living to the dead. And not only that, it connects the home of the gods, which is called Midgård, with the home of the giants, Jotunheim, and to have its roots in Hel, which is the realm of the dead, Niflheim. And this might sound a bit wishy-washy, but I'm here today to talk a bit how we can look at Yggdrasil in a modern context. Because in a previous video I talked about my view on time and how I think that we shouldn't look at time as a continuation, but as a cyclical movement, where we can look at the seasons of the year in the same way, with winter going to spring, going to summer, going to autumn, then to reboot itself into winter. So it's a cyclical continuation rather than a single continuation. But maybe I can link you to that video as well if you're interested. But about Yggdrasil. So we have a tree that connected death to life and to spirituality, the gods. And, reaching from the realm of the dead to the realm of the living, you somehow connected the living to the ancestry. And if it's something you can hear me talk about quite extensively, is learning from our ancestors. And I would say that in the modern time we live in now, we tend to forget all the wisdoms our ancestors had. And just to give you a short thing that oftentimes occupy my mind is when we see people talk about Vikings, my ancestors. I oftentimes get pretty annoyed, to be honest, especially when it comes to Americans describing Vikings as, brute pillagers that were 2 meters tall and brute, and they raided and raped, etc., etc. And even though there's a kernel of truth to that, the average Viking man was around 175 centimeters tall, which I think is like 5'10" or something. But at the time, that was tall, because other peoples were shorter. But that's besides the point. In reality, Viking Scandinavia was a technological marvel, because you have to understand that this was a seafaring culture primarily, and the ships. So I read not long time ago, if you want to cross the Pacific Sea by sailboat, that took the Viking around 12 days to do. And how long do you think it takes to cross the Pacific today? 12 days. That's how efficient these ships were. So I won't go into shipbuilding this time around, but you have to understand that Viking society was pretty advanced for its time. And also when it comes to metallurgy and the swords and the axes, the Nordic metals and blacksmithing was absolutely world class at that time as well. So they weren't, you know, drunk, stupid peoples that happened to like raiding. They were most of the time very advanced shipbuilders, making armory and traders. Okay, rant over. But let's go back to Yggdrasil. So what I like with Yggdrasil and the whole anecdote about a world tree connecting the dead to the living and the spiritual, like a trinity, if you can make the connections to a certain other religion that is more popular today. There's something to be said about this. And you can see it as one. I think when you look at Yggdrasil, you make yourself dishonest, dishonesty if you see it as three different things. You should rather look at as something interconnected, that you are a part of the whole realm, so to speak. And again, when you look at the time and you look at this a circular continuation rather than a linear, you can look at when a tree drops its leaves, you could see it as the tree dying, but in reality, the tree momentarily dies in order to give energy to something new. And the life cycle, continues. And this is not superstition at all. That's the way nature works. The ecosystem works. And today, in the modern times, we tend to live like we don't have any roots in the life tree. We just look forward and up to chase, the new riches, the new solutions. It's like we're inventing the wheel over and over and over again. We don't have to do that. As long as we stay connected to our ancestors, the divine, and the now living. And, we kind of get blinded by technology, AI, all the processes. But the thing is, with a tree, if a tree has bad roots, it's just about time it will fall over. And in order for a big tree to grow strong and reach the sky, you have to have really, really big roots as well. So we're not doing ourselves any favors to forget about the old ways. And that's partially why I'm doing this. And like I've said before, when I was younger, I didn't have a strong belief in anything, to be honest, except science. But the older I've gotten, the more I've started seeing these patterns, in the old ways, in the modern times. But most people don't see these patterns. They're just blinded by process. And I think that... So let me give you another anecdote, which I think is pretty cool. So like I said, the heathen metallurgy was very far, very developed for its time, And this was a conundrum for many, many years. How could the northern blacksmithing be so good? Well, it turned out that, and this is a theory, but it's a strong one. So one of the practices here was to burn our dead. When someone influential died, we burnt them, okay? Cremated them, if you will. And it was usual practice to use their remains, the ashes, into the forgery to carry some bit of their spirit with the weapon in hand, you know, the sword or the axe. But what do you know what separates steel from iron? It's the amount of carbon. The higher the amount of carbon, the harder it gets, steel-like. And what happens when you mix iron with the ashes from a cremated person? You get steel. So, you know, this wasn't conscious behavior, but it just ended up so that if you took the spirits of your ancestors into the iron, you got steel and you got stronger swords. And I also think this is a good anecdote for not, you know, dismissing the previously alive. You have to take their spirit and their knowledge with you into the future. And I think Yggdrasil is the perfect manifestation of this. How it connects the realms, the magical, spiritual realm, with the dead, the ancestors, and the now living. And you know, I think it's important. And also, like I've said, a tree cannot grow up into the sky, into the divine, without really, really sturdy roots. So I guess that's what I wanted to say. And what's the takeaways here? I guess it's stay grounded. Look at your ancestors and honor your ancestors. It's important. Grow upwards and honor those roots, you know. And that's the best we can do. But have a look at the Yggdrasil, and I think we can learn something from that. And just because it's new, it doesn't mean that you should forget your ancestry. Okay, folks. Thank you for joining me on this a little longer video. But I'm sure I'll revisit it soon. Okay, have a good one. Tyrdom out.